Hello, everyone, and welcome to a conversation with Opticom Technologies. My name is Erica Nordio from LabTest Certification, one of your hosts today, and joining me as well is Gersher Sidhu, also from LabTest Certification, and our account manager and project engineer for the Hazardous Locations Equipment Department. Our special guest today is Mr. Steve Oakley, product manager at Opticom Technologies. Hi, Steve, and thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Erica. It's nice to be here.
So, just to give our listeners an idea of what this is about, a conversation with is a set of conversations with some of our longtime clients to see how everyone is doing during the global pandemic, and especially to see how everyone is adapting to the new normal. The idea came from asking ourselves, how could we help? And being a certification body, LabTest wasn't really set up to, for example, start making hand sanitizer. So we thought of doing this instead, in hope that through our conversations, listeners could gain some good insights from listening to our guests. I will now hand it over to Gersher to continue our chat with our guest. Gersher?
Thank you, Erica. Hi, Steve.
Hey, Gersher.
Hey, I guess to start off, just so that our users or the listeners can get a bit more insight on, what Opticom does and how's your journey been at Opticom so far and your role. So if you could touch up on that a little bit, that'll be a good starting point for us.
Okay, well, Opticom Technologies, we're in the industrial video business. We manufacture and distribute heavy-duty cameras for process monitoring in places such as sawmills, mines, oil refineries, things like that. We've been in business for 47 years, and we've noticed a big difference since the pandemic has hit. Sales have definitely slowed down on our traditional lines, as most companies have decided to either suspend their budget for adding new equipment, or they've taken a wait and see attitude as to how things are going to play out. So I'd say in our traditional line, sales are down about 65% right now over the last 2-3 months. But we're still pretty optimistic, and we've been able to bring in other products that address the pandemic issue, since we're in the video business. A facial recognition temperature screening camera system for access points, and sales on that have been quite brisk. So we've been pretty fortunate that although we're taking a big downturn in one side of the business, we've got a good uptick in another side of the business.
Nice.
Well, yeah, that's definitely good to hear. Yeah. So this new product you're talking about, this is to monitor, I guess, somebody that's coming into the facility and to just log their temperatures, just so that you can have a log of people coming in and out. Can you tell us a little bit more about this product?
Yeah, basically. So it's a 7-inch screen. It uses a facial recognition algorithm so that you can it'll support a database of 10,000 records. So for employees, if you have employees with photos and badges and all that kind of thing, you can preload all that information into your database, and then it'll keep a log of that person's temperature every day as they access the facility. And it can be tied into your access control system, so that if somebody fails the temperature test, the access point won't open. So, for retail stores, virtually anywhere where they're just trying to get a quick read, it's pretty effective. It takes a reading within 300 milliseconds. And the facial recognition algorithm basically, is designed to target the center of the forehead, so that the readings are actually very accurate, usually to within 0.3 degrees Celsius. It's quite accurate. So yeah, there's been a lot of interest in that product, obviously, because as places start to reopen, they need to have some way of having some of what's happening in their facility.
Right. No, that's really exciting to hear about this product coming in and how you guys are supporting in the end. So I guess that is sort of like your part in the solution in this situation that we are in, right? Kind of going through, because what we were sort of doing is helping any of the products that are going into pharmaceutical or critical care products, giving them first priority. Whereas you guys are helping with this so that businesses can stay operational and be safe in the end for their employees as well as for the general public, which is really good to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not foolproof because, as we all know, I mean, temperature is only one symptom. But approximately from the data that's out there now, about 70% of the people who do have the virus do exhibit an elevated body temperature. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely just one tool in the toolbox that you can use to try to secure your facility.
Yeah, no, for sure. And when you guys kind of went through the transition, of how we used to work before and how we work now, I mean, both of us would be at different trade shows at this time, right? So did you guys put any alternative work kind of arrangements into place to kind of work remotely or anything like that during the situation?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, we're pretty fortunate in that, we're not front line, being a manufacturer and working through distribution, we don't have a front line setup. So it was pretty easy for us to transition to work from home. Mm-hmm. The logistics of it were simply that I had to get all the shipping. All my product is coming to my house now instead of to my office. So my house has become a shipping and receiving center. And so that's been a little bit interesting. But yeah, actually, we've managed. We still do go into the office usually only once a week for just to organize things. I mean, there's some things that we have to be there for. Mm-hmm. But in our office building in downtown Vancouver is basically shut down. Mm-hmm. So we wouldn't even have the choice of using it as a regular shipping point anymore anyway, because you can't even get in there. But for us, it's been a pretty simple transition, and we've been doing our best to maintain the self-isolation and all the social distancing. I usually, when I do go into the office, quite often I'll go in at night. When there's nobody there except the security guard, and I'll work for 4 or 5 hours, and then I can basically avoid seeing anybody that way.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's definitely good to hear that you guys were able to kind of go into that smooth transition and then still operate, which is awesome. On the other hand, how are you guys staying connected during all this while working remotely? Are there any tips or tools you might recommend to the listeners?
Well, for us, I mean, it's just a good old cell phone for the most part. We don't do video meetings as such. It's just, that from that point of view, our business hasn't really changed. I mean, we've always communicated via email and phone, and and actually for me, I've actually learned a lot about doing video conferencing and being online with video, because I've had quite a few meetings with customers over video, which I would have never done before. Mm-hmm. So it's been kind of educational. I was on Skype with an automation engineer at a mine in Papua New Guinea the other week, and that turned out to be a great meeting and a good sale. So it's kind of odd that while some of our traditional business has slowed, I've noticed that there's been quite an uptick in international sales. Right. I've been dealing with De Beers in South Africa this week, the other mine in Papua New Guinea. It's just, I don't know if it's just because of the pandemic. I don't think it is. It's just that sometimes, when one door closes, another door opens, and you don't necessarily expect it, but it happens.
Yeah.
That's good. That's nice to hear.
Definitely good to hear that positive coming out of the whole situation. And if you were to kind of build up on that a little bit more, do you foresee any of the changes that you have put into place, that will be continuing afterwards as well, that might even turn out to be a better way of doing business?
Oh yeah, I think definitely. Working at home will probably become sort of the norm. There's when you look at the benefits of not having to, for myself anyway, not having to do the commute, which takes a couple of hours out of your day every day. I mean, you can be a lot more productive working at home and only attending the office when it's absolutely necessary. Right. And I think for a lot of companies, if they adopted that strategy, I mean, we could reduce the amount of traffic, pollution. There's a lot of benefits to it for society as a whole.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the things we have noticed as well, where we help do the transition for working from home, and it's working, even better than I would say, in some cases for some of the stuff. Yeah. No, that's good to know. And on the other side, were there like any challenges you had to kind of overcome when you did the transition to the new way of doing business? And if there's any tips we can, give to our listeners at this time so that, they can kind of mitigate those as well?
Well, I think for us, it was basically just logistics. I mean, because we do move a lot of product around. So I noticed, the biggest challenge was that especially back in early May, the courier companies were basically overwhelmed because of all the people buying things online. Mm-hmm. So I was finding that my shipments were being held up or delayed by 2, 3, 4 days. So I had to do a lot of explaining to customers as to why their shipments were taking so long. I mean, it was really out of my control, but there was a lot of communication that had to be done. Mm-hmm. And of course, we've found that we've definitely had delays on the supplier side too, because a lot of companies in the Far East rely on small parts that come from who knows where. And I think for a lot of companies, especially ours, it's taught us a lot about how we should better manage our supply chain, because just because you're having one factory make a product for you, you don't know where they're getting all their parts from. And if they're missing a certain parts, that means you've got a problem, and that was what a lot of companies, I think, experienced when China was shut down, was that, mm-hmm. your product might be manufactured in Japan or Taiwan or Korea, but mm-hmm. they're still relying on things coming out of China. And, even, little small parts for, a printed circuit board. Right. So right. It really has educated us quite a bit on knowing more about what your supply chain actually is and how to manage it better.
Right. So some contingency and mitigation plans to have more kind of options open in case something happens, and understand the supply chain a little bit more.
Yeah. In other words, make it a requirement of your supplier that they provide you with a supply chain, document that says, this is where we get our parts from, right. So that you'll know in future if something happens in a certain place that you may have a problem, and you can anticipate it a little faster rather than, you can act rather than react.
Right. No, that's very insightful. Well, I think that was good on the question side. I think it was very informative for me as well. Just to kind of close it off on my end, I hope that everyone at your company and your families have been okay, given the current situation. And I'll now pass it on to Erica to close the podcast.
Yes, I think it's a wrap. Sure. So Thank you, Steve. This was great. It was very educational from myself as well. And I'm just assuming that it was for our listeners as well. So in case somebody listening was interested in getting in touch with Opticom, is there a general email address that they could reach you at?
Yeah, it's just Steve at Opticom Tech, OPTICOMTECH.com.
Okay, that's great. So thank you again for your time today and for answering our questions, which we think that a lot of people might have out there. It was really great to spend this time with you. So have a great day and stay safe.
And you as well, Erica. Thank you, Gersher. Thank you, Erica. And I really enjoyed it. Take care.
Thank you, Steve.